And we need to begin in earnest, no pun intended, putting together our next plan. As I promised to you in a number of other forums, we want to make sure that we have a tie-in between all of the work that we're putting in, the data analysis, the reports, and the feedback from the periodic review report, and use that as the launching point for the strategic plan. For those of you that are not aware, I will remind you that we are recording this session so that those people who cannot attend either today or the final session will have the ability to see it, know what people have said. I will leave, hopefully, to allow a more free and open exchange of ideas. And we have agreed, for those people that might feel uncomfortable speaking with the camera rolling, that at some point at the end of the session, the camera will be turned off. Anyone who's reluctant to say anything and be recorded should feel free to do so then. I hope you understand that the intention is simply to be able to share as broadly as we can all of the information and feedback. I would also ask, if you could, as a personal favor, since we're having one more session which is open to the entire college community, anybody who couldn't come, whether they are faculty, staff, classified staff, who is available to please come. We want to hear people's ideas, we want to get their feedback, and we want to make this as inclusive a process as possible. With that, I want to bring up to the microphone our consultant for this process, somebody who's worked with us in the past and you know well, Ms. Anna Pond. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Hi, I'm going to use this because I have a little cold, and I want to stay over here while you stay over there so we don't share, okay? So hold on, let me. So welcome. I think other people are going to come. Last time we started the forum at 3:45, and it left us not enough time at the end. So we wanted to start on time. We're doing some introductory activities, and then we're going to give you some time to actually talk about priorities. So you will be talking at your tables. So if I have to move you around, I will, but it looks like we got some good tables going here. So the purpose of the forum today, as the president said, is to get faculty input into the process. And we had a long discussion, I had a long discussion with the president about strategic planning and how to make it stronger. And you know, I've done it a lot now, not just with your campus, with lots of campuses and lots of nonprofits and lots of foundations. And there's one thing that I know: inclusive processes are better. Engaged processes are better. So we talked about 2 points at which we want to engage folks. And there are the folks, you know, it's kind of like noon eaters or 1 o'clock eaters. Like, who's a noon eater? I'm a noon eater. And then some people are 1 o'clock eaters. Like, if you don't bridge the gap between the people whose blood sugar is crashing at noon and the 1 o'clock, you're in trouble. So today is about getting input early into the strategic planning process. Before the cake gets baked, I'll use lots of metaphors, analogies today, but before anything gets done, we want to get some input from faculty, raw, undigested, your thoughts. And then, as the process I'll show you in a second, you can't see this. You can go to the website to see this, but it basically shows that there are a couple different stages in the strategic planning process. The first part is gathering evidence, and this is an evidence session. This is to get your input. We're also going to be looking at data on enrollment trends and retention trends and graduation trends that are related to completion. We're going to look at outside the college, what's happening obviously in higher education, what's happening that impacts completion in this country for your college. So there's a lot of places where we're going to get data. Then, as the president said, there's a space online that you can go to get the latest on what's happening on strategic planning. So this session will be posted there. Any documents that the Strategic Planning Committee is developing will be shared there. The notes, there's actually, we should give a hand to our IR folks who are here to also take notes, because we want the undigested, but we also want them to kind of pull themes, and they're gonna help us pull together what are the themes across sessions, so they're listening for that. So thank you guys, thank you, and gals. So the first stage is getting evidence. The second stage is kind of undertaking, is basically organizing it. So a SWOT is where you organize it. A SWOT is where you look at institutional strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So you kind of put it in a framework and go, how are all these things working together? So you step back from the data. And again, we'll continue to kind of pull up data about what's happening externally to the college, internally. And then we'll start to construct, we'll have a lot of data at that point. We'll have done forums, we'll do data analysis, we're going to look at the literature, we're going to do a bunch of things, and then we're going to start to put it together in a framework. Because another thing that I've discovered in strategic planning is that if you can't say it, I hope, Reese, you'll smile when I say this, if you kind of can't say it on a page, like, then you lose everybody, right? So we gotta be, and Reese, just so you know, we're looking at ways to actually do that better as part of this process. Stay tuned. But we wanna kind of do that in a way that, you know, a student can grasp it, a faculty member, a staff person, a community person, people outside the college, whatever, can kind of see this and go, oh, that makes sense. So we'll construct a framework. That's when we'll come back to you. We'll have a framework, we'll come back, and you'll say, you're cuckoo, or that looks great, and I'd make these suggestions about changes, or right on, guys and gals, you did it right. So we're gonna come back to you after the framework is constructed. And then, so that's the vetting of the framework. And then the plan will get written. So nothing is getting written until that whole process goes on, where you all and the campus community is engaged. Any questions? Yes?
Can't hear you, Ronnie. Can't hear you.
I think you can.
Okay? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. So my point is, it seems to me that there should be point 0 before point 1, and at the point 0, we should together think about the vision that we will collect the evidence for. Otherwise, what are we collecting evidence? This, without any global vision. It seems to me that we should start on the global vision in the beginning, then go through the process, and then come to the framework.
It's a great question, and we're going to get to that in a second. Okay? Any other questions? I mean, it's kind of like preparing a dissertation, right? I mean, that's what we're kind of doing here. We're kind of gathering evidence to write something. Okay, so I'm holding on to your thought. I haven't forgotten it. Don't worry. But you can tell me, you know, if it's a good response or you think it doesn't answer the question. So this is the committee. You can't see it, but you can go to the website to see who's on the strategic planning committee. Okay? It's representation across all of the institution, including students. We have several students this time. Okay? So, and just so you know, this is an extension of the PRR committee. Does anyone know what PRR stands for? The period, okay. I see an answer over here. Do you want to shout it out for me? It's the periodic review report. So the periodic review report is how you exist, not why you exist, but it's how you exist. It's your accreditor report. The periodic review report is due in June. Have folks seen okay, so the periodic review report is due in June, and it is a midpoint reflection on where you are on your accreditation.
This is for middle states.
This is for middle states, yes. Is middle states ringing a bell with folks? Okay, good. Okay, so the periodic review report is a process of analysis to kind of substantiate why the institution should be accredited. And it has a very specific way of gathering data. It's not just free form. They basically want you to look back and look at the institution in a particular way. There will be a public review, correct, Christine? I have one of the co-chairs here if you have a question about that process. There will be a public review of that document. And that is being developed by that periodic review committee that is basically represented here with some additional members. Okay, so quick, yes. Where's that mic?
I see 17 members in this committee, but only I counted 3 professors. It's too little.
Absolutely. How come only 3 professors for 17 people? That makes no sense.
So Christine, can you help me out here?
It's the leadership from each division. It is the staff member in each division who has been working on the operational planning based on the last strategic plan over the last number of years that are represented on this committee. We have faculty who had been on the periodic review committee who have experience with assessment. And then we brought in Senate representation, so Ernest is now part of the Strategic Planning Committee. But in order to have every division represented and not have an overwhelming amount of people,
Yes.
you have to, keep it condensed. So we did try to get broad representation of the faculty from the different areas, and that's why we have these meetings also, to get the feedback. We're doing the dirty work based on the ideas that are coming out of all of these meetings and forums.
Yes. So, and Christine, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I've worked on accreditation, just so you know, across CUNY. I've read and written everything. I worked with Medgar Evers when they were about to go out of business for CUNY to help them produce their monitoring report. I've worked across the whole campus, across all of CUNY on monitoring reports, progress reports. I've read it all. And my understanding from my experience is that you have to have this kind of representation across the institution. So if you look, there's more representation from academic affairs in this committee than any other area. However, it has to have representation across the institution. Does that make sense?
Well, not entirely. And the reason for not entirely is...
Can we pass the mic? Victor, I need your help to pass the mic, because I don't want to give people what I have.
Okay, the main job that we do is teaching here, right?
Middle
or not?
States-
Yeah. Do we teach or we don't teach? What is the main task of our institution?
Middle States
Yes.
cares about your whole institution, not just teaching. It's
No,
about
of
teaching and
course.
learning. Also, it's about So listen, for the periodic review, one whole section is about financial analysis and enrollment.
Yeah.
The other area is institutional challenges across the institution, not just from faculty, but about the whole institution. What are the challenges and opportunities that you're facing? The other piece of it, just so you know, is about the recommendations that you all developed in the self-study, and they're reporting back on that. So they're not writing a dissertation about how teaching should be done. They're reporting back on the operational kind of integrity of the institution based on Middle States' report structure, as well as, basically the recommendations, where you stand on the recommendations that you all prepared.
I understand you. I think it's inadequate. I think we should add faculty members to that committee. I
How many
stated
would you
as
add?
a point.
How many would you add? Let me ask.
Well, we should discuss all together about it, but I think that should be at least 3 more, if not more.
Okay, so noted. This is not a forum about the PRR. One of your co-chairs for the PRR process is here. This is on tape, so it is recorded forever and ever. So, so Christine, I leave you with that information to respond. Okay? I don't think we have time to respond, or we won't talk about strategic planning today. That's my recommendation. Yes, Loretto. Hold on.
Only because I like seeing things in context. And here we are presented with a list of, I think, 17 people. So I would like to know what is the role of this strategic plan committee and how these people were selected to be in this committee. And are there going to be subcommittees working in different part of this plan, or this is it and these people are going to decide?
So it's a great question. I have worked on many, many strategic plans, and it is generally, I don't know how you write it without a governing committee that is responsible for moving that agenda. I just don't know how you do it. It's not, so this is an opportunity to share your input, right? You're going to get another opportunity to share your input. You can go online and you can text or email every day what you think. So there are lots of places to input into this process. So I don't know how to answer your question because I've never seen it done with staff committees that create a strategic planning process. I've never seen it done. Many institutions don't even do this. So hang on.
But is that I'm not questioning the existence of this committee,
Right.
What I would like to know, what is the role of this committee? What is
The role of the committee-
What is they have to accomplish, and how the rest of us is going to put input for this committee?
So are other people confused about how you're going to give input? Today is an input opportunity. There's an input opportunity when the framework gets presented. You can go online and give feedback as many times as you want, daily, weekly, monthly, 5 times a day. We don't care. So the role of the Strategic Planning Committee is to create the strategic plan, is to actually write the strategic plan. You will also have an opportunity when it's fully written to comment on the strategic plan. So if you have questions about the structure of the committee, I will bring those to the president and he can answer them directly. I think that's the best thing to do. So, but the role of the committee is to produce the strategic plan. All right? I'm not trying to be difficult. It's just, that's what it is. So, yes, Mickey.
I just say thank you to the members of the committee because I know from past periodic reviews and self-studies that it's a very difficult, hard, intensive, long process. And I am glad I'm not on that committee. Thank you.
All right. But really, I don't want to leave you with a negative, maybe this is the fever rising because I'm not feeling well. But I do want to say to you, please input today, please input via email. It's going to be a very transparent process. You're going to see notes from all these meetings, input. And if you really feel strongly that you want to be part of this, or you have questions about the process, then go to the provost, and she can relay those to the president. That's the best way to do it here. But otherwise, we're not going to have an opportunity to actually input today if we keep going on this. Okay? Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, great. Yes. Thank you. All right. What? Do you want to say that to the mic? I'm sorry. What did you say? Okay. Victor, where'd you go? Can you help me? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to breeze through this because I want to really get your input. So who's been part of strategic planning before? Raise your hand. So have you done, for example, a strategic plan for your program or for the institution or for anything? That's not working, so you got to help me. All right, so a number of people. Can you click to the next one for me? Oh, good, we're good. Okay, so what is strategic planning? Anyone? Can you help me pass the email or the mic? Yeah.
I didn't realize I committed to the microphone, but I would just say it's the institution deciding what's most important for the institution and then how you're going to do that.
Absolutely.
How you're going to get there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, any other thoughts? It's not, well, I'll say one thing it's not. It's not like a detailed playbook of every single thing you're going to do for the next 5 years or 3 years. It's meant to be a framework that guides the direction of the institution. Okay? Yes, Reese.
I would just add that it should outline a response to a variety of changes in the atmosphere of the institution as that
Absolutely.
moves forward, not necessarily say this is the directive and this is what we're going to do no matter what.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's meant to be flexible, to adapt. So again, we're way far from this, but this is the Wikipedia definition, and it basically says what you just said. It's about helping the organization define strategy so that you can, you can make decisions about where to put your time, your money, toward goals that you mutually define, right? So this is the vision, right? This is what you're aiming for. And as you can see, this has kind of 6 elements that relate. I don't know how to get this off here, so I feel like I'm at a stand-up routine. I don't want to use that because I don't want to get people sick. I'll use this one. There we go. See how nice I am? I can be nice. All right, so one is about access to higher education. So that's related to academics, right? But it's also related to student services. It's registration, it's enrollment, it's financial, resources for the students. So access has to do with a lot of different things, right? Then it's about diversity and multiculturalism. This came about as a result of a very participatory process. This came out, those of you that know, this was part of, exactly, I'm seeing heads nod, thank God. It came out from the self-study, right? So, and you all define this. We realized the mission was way too hard to analyze, so we had to pull out themes. So there could be analysis of the mission. And these are the themes. Wow, technology is crazy today. So access to higher education, diversity and multiculturalism, English, math, skills development was an area, intellectual growth and lifelong learning, socioeconomic mobility, and community resources. So I think this answers the question, Christine, about why there's broad representation on the PRR committee, because it's about all of these things. Now, teaching and learning is clearly core, but there are all these other elements, especially for your students, that impact their education, right? Okay, so to talk about what's the centerpiece for the next plan, the president has basically really decided to focus the plan on completion. He, under his leadership, feels very strongly that the institution needs to focus particularly around completion. If you look at the last strategic plan, there was a midpoint report that was written, that was public document, and there was a lot of progress on a lot of the other indicators for that last plan. And the completion agenda was where things were kind of still, you know, where the institution, where Hostos was still kind of struggling. So the idea for this plan is to really focus on completion. That's the vision. That answers the question around the vision that you asked earlier. I'm sorry, sir. What's your name again? I'm answering your question, so I want to talk to you. So this is about the centerpiece of this is completion. So hang on, let me continue, and then I'll give you the mic, and then I have to share the mic with everybody. Okay. So something that's really important to see. God, I wish these could be closer to this group. So, but look at this. You all work with data, right? So if you look at something that happened with the last strategic plan, right? So if you look back to 07, 08, and Peter, help me with this again. If you look back, I'm just going to do the laypersons, and then you can weigh in. If you look back to the last plan, there's something happening. There's this kind of line before this line in 2011, and the line is really kind of going like this, right? Which, from a data perspective, kind of indicates that we're kind of not going up, we're kind of not going down, we're kind of going this way, right? If you did a regression on that, that's maybe where it would show. So all of a sudden, somewhere around 11, 16, something changes. Okay? And so the idea that, this is driving me crazy, can you guys hear me? Okay, because it goes in and out. The idea is that the next strategic plan is really going for a very clear goal at the center, a 50% completion, all student completion rate. So Peter, by the year 2021, 2022. Okay. So Peter, can you jump in on that? No, I don't want to.
So as Anna mentioned, the vision is to get to the to 50% completion rate, graduation rate for the cohort, the freshman cohort of starting in fall 18. Just as a quick reminder, when we were applying for our for the 2015 Aspen Prize, we also committed ourselves to the White House Completion Initiative, and we made a commitment to reach a 20% completion rate, 20% graduation rate. That's a 3-year graduation rate by the year 2020. We reached that last year. The vision is to go beyond that, to get to the 50%.
All right, so why 50%? What's the argument that the Strategic Planning Committee has talked about for a 50%? We've had one meeting where we basically said hi, and we talked a little bit about why a 50% completion agenda, and the president shared some things, and the committee discussed some things. So to start with what it's not, as it says here, it's not about reducing quality of programs. It's not at the expense of excellence in serving our students. It's not going to be held against anyone doing their best, and it's not going to hurt Hostos if you don't hit the mark. It's not like your accreditors are going to say, oh, you failed, you don't get to exist anymore. Too bad. It's meant to be aspirational, but doable. And Peter, I'm going to have you weigh in on that for a second again. It is based on an analysis of completion trends, and it builds on progress from the last plan. So anything to say on that?
Yeah, so as you notice, if we go back to that, can we go back? Can we go back to that slide? So as Anna mentioned before, something really interesting happened for the incoming 2012 cohort. And it just coincides with our strategic initiatives, strategic planning initiatives. We assume that it's not coincidence, that us being more focused and dedicating more resources towards getting students towards credit accumulation and on the way to graduation resulted in this big jump. So we looked at all the other indicators, student credit accumulation, and with all the changes that we've implemented, that you've implemented with your hard work, and through the remedial sequences, we noticed that the student credit accumulation actually has a huge potential of going up. So we're really aggressively right now tracking cohorts. We just sent an update to the provost, and that be forwarded to the advisors, focusing on the fall 14 cohort. If we get all the students who are over 40 credits at this point, over 50 credits at this point, to graduate this semester, we will reach a 30% graduation rate already. Obviously, statistically, probability-wise, this might not happen exactly 30%, but it might be 28. And we're still talking fall 14. To reach 50%, we still have a couple more cohorts to get even better at what we're doing already. Remember, we're talking about 2022, so that's the incoming class of fall 18.
Okay, great. So going back to this, I think one of the things the committee also talked about is part of this is about doing the right thing, right? So taking a really strong stance that students come here to complete something, whether it's a certificate or a degree or whatever it is, they come here to complete something. And also for the right thing, there's a lot of studies that are coming out that's showing the financial difference some college versus no college and a college degree makes, and mounting evidence that the difference between college and no college is estimated at $1 million in a lifetime for someone. So that's part of the case for it being the right thing. There's also the reality that folks are doing kind of economic analysis about the contributions of these it's not just about the degree earners earning more money. It's about them contributing more in taxes. It's about then taxpayer savings because they're not relying on services, for example, safety net services, and them experiencing things like better health, et cetera. So these analyses are being done by the American Association of Community Colleges, and they're already finding this. So this is part of the case for why it's right. And I think this is the thing that the president says more than anything. What school do you want to send your kid to? What's the completion rate of a school that you want to send your child to, your niece, your nephew, and all that stuff? And I know from what I've talked to him about, what he would say, and I actually think it's quite courageous, because I work with a lot of presidents who, this is on tape, so dangerous, but who said it like 5 percentage points higher because they're afraid that if they don't succeed, that it will look bad on their presidency. And what I think is courageous about this is that, and what I've heard the president say is if we don't hit 50%, but we hit 35, and we did our best, and you did your best, awesome. And if you hit 35, if you set it at 35, and you hit 35, then he's going to say, why didn't we set it at 50? So he said it aggressively, knowing that it is possible that you won't, it's possible that you won't meet this. It is possible that you can. It's in the zone of, right, Peter? It's in the zone of possibility, but it's not a definite. There are a lot of reasons why it won't happen that have nothing to do with here. There's a lot happening, we know. Votes made today about the Secretary of Education. Who knows? We don't know what can happen. But the idea is to gun for something aspirational. So, I'm going to pause. Questions? Okay, I'm going to have to share the mic. You know that. Okay, great. I'm going to have to share the mic after this and make sure there are others. Go on.
Okay, so... Yes? Yes. Okay. You see, As I am listening to your presentation, I see already 3 cases of a single pattern in which certain idea has escaped. What is the idea? When we talk about 50%, it's fine, and I am supporting President on that. However, something is missing. Do we want any 50% or high quality 50%? And therefore, it seems to me that in addition to this 50%, I am not talking about reducing quality. It's not about reducing. It's about rising quality. So I don't want any 50%. I want a 50% of A students, okay? And this is not stated, first. Second, when we go later to the next one, could you move it one? Right, okay. Why do students come? All of those things are true. What is missing? The student himself or herself. I think that apart from all those financial things, the most important is student intellectual, emotional development per se. We don't talk about it. We talk only about money. I find it disgusting that we talk only about money instead of the development of the person as a person. Second, next one. What is there next after that? There was another one. There are 3 of the same quality. What we want for our families, aspirational but doable. All of this talks about numbers. It doesn't talk about people. And this is the main objection of mine.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any other thoughts, responses to that? This is a place for me not to say no. This is a place to hear everybody. So I'm not going to say no, but anyone want to add or have a counter view?
This might not be the right place, but I was just telling one of my seatmates what I feel is the most important. And unfortunately, in my mind, money is of absolute total importance. We need more space, and we need more technology. We need more support, one-on-one support for our students throughout their careers. And we need, what was the other one? I said it. Space, technology, and support for the students, and money is absolutely crucial. Where's it going to come from? No clue.
Right. Thank you. Okay. Any other points of view? I have to see if there's other people, because you've already had a chance. So anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, Loretto.
So when we are developing this strategic plan,
Right.
so the college knows already that there are programs in college that have a fantastic success rate, right? ASAP, one of them. So when we talk, let's say we know that ASAP has a fantastic success. I think if we would have a model similar to ASAP, maybe we could reach a fantastic also percent of completion, right? But are the monies going to be there? Because it would be terrible to develop a strategic plan and then the monies are not going to be there.
So, okay, I'm going to respond to a couple things, and then I'm going to turn to the provost to jump in, okay? Because I need her to weigh in. So I'm struggling a little bit with the plan is organized around financial, because the last plan wasn't, so I don't know where that's coming from. I think it's for you today to say exactly like what are the types of programs that are either existing or that could be created that could get toward a completion goal. That's for you to define, not for anybody else to define. It's for you all to define and the strategic planning committee to kind of put together the ideas from students, from faculty, from staff, to bring their own ideas, and then to vet that with you, okay? So I struggle with that a little bit. Provost, do you have anything to add?
I mean, ASAP, their 2-year graduation rate is 47%. They're our students, so yes, they have funding. Their 3-year graduation rate this past year was 58%, but the thing that they do, the assessment and the data and the tracking,
Yep.
they are all over students. So when people semester in December, he sent me the list of all the students that are on track to graduate, if they did everything they needed to do last semester and this upcoming semester. When I sent it to the advisors to say, hey, make sure that, you know, they take the right classes for this semester, because then we would have a 28% graduation rate for this year. ASAP's response to me when I sent them theirs are, okay, well, these 5 students aren't going to make it because, one, whatever. But they knew already that they've been tracking those students through it. When I sent it to Wendy's area, Wendy got all over it and started contacting each of those students to make sure before they left campus that they were registered for what they needed to do. That's what we need to do. So then Peter's office then gave me the students who a year and a half at the time that they are here. They have a year and a half to go. So there's a lot of ifs along there, but they have enough credits that they can graduate in the next year and a half if we track them and make sure that they do exactly what they need to do and that they're full-time or that they take classes in the summer or in the winter. That group was it 48% or something like that would graduate. Now again, that's a year and a half of ifs, right? But if we really make sure that they are as committed as we are to get them to do what they need to do, it can happen. There's, yes, ASAP has money. The students have, tuition, but really the students have financial aid. So the tuition is, whatever that gap is. They have textbooks, but that keeps getting reduced. And if we use more, open educational resources, then we don't have to worry about the cost of textbooks for our students. The Metro cards are huge, and that is a college we're looking to see. How do we find Metro cards for the students, right? But the theory behind it of helping the students can actually happen. We can do this. There are students in ASAP, and as they keep expanding ASAP, it's helping us with the resources also.
So, and just to try to touch on Loretto's question about money, I mean, I don't want to swear, but geez, I don't know that you can guarantee money in today's environment in any way, shape, or form. From the Fed, from the state. The idea is that you're going to make, it's just like anything. You make your best game plan going forward. Yes?
You get the money, right?
Exactly. It has a...
Now,
And then
ASAP,
Reese.
right? To keep expanding it because they see that it's working. Gutman, who has an amazing, graduation rate also because it's based on the ASAP model. All over the news. I'm working with somebody right now who's looking at our data, and she keeps saying, you guys really need to share that 8-point increase, that 8% increase in the graduation, because that doesn't happen nationally, right? That in itself is amazing, and at no point did we, lower our standards or the quality of our program. We did that, right? So we can do this.
Right, and going back, Christine, I want to riff on what you're saying. Look at what happened from the beginning of your strategic plan and the end of your strategic plan. That had nothing to do with lowering quality of programs.
And part of that, right? So fall 12 is when we started the coaching unit, right? So now our students have what the ASAP students have, those coaches to make sure that they're doing right and that they're, the harassers, right? To make sure that they're on track. And, over the years, we now have more coaches, so more students have those supports. That's helping.
Okay, I think Reese had something he wanted to add.
I was if you move back to the big numbers here. Next one.
This one?
No, the cash numbers, the billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You were asking where does the money come from? The money comes from the tax levy of these people who are having taxable revenue.
Right, if we bring up the Bronx and the socioeconomic status in the Bronx and how that feeds.
Everybody,
yep, absolutely.
Everybody I talk to, every CBO, every nonprofit in our community and statewide is wondering where the money's going to come from. The money's going to come from. It's not tragic to say that this means that we're empowering the community from within with these numbers. So I think showing these numbers is really important for us to recognize that that's where we're going to get our money for our funding, for our programs, for continuing on.
Long term, certainly. That's the idea. So did you want to add? And then over here.
May I just ask a few simple questions?
Absolutely.
What is an average national rate graduation in 3 years?
I'm sorry, what?
3-year graduation rate, national-wide in community college?
There is none. Oh, it's under 20.
It's under 20%, right? It's a 6-year graduation rate for the average national, about 59%. 6-year graduation rate. I'm just trying to figure out where this 50% is coming from. It's inspirational, but any mathematician in this room looking at this graph tells you that it's not sustainable. And it I'm not saying that it's not achievable. I'm trying to say that it's arbitrary number, 50%. It could be 100%, it could be 30%.
You're absolutely right on that, yep.
Just number taken from I don't know where. And judging by the rate we have right now on your graph, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Judging by the numbers on this graph, whatever graph was, right? The only way to reach this 50% is with the absolutely drastic changes for the college. That's the only way we can reach it. And we cannot use SAP program as a model, because SAP program, one of the things they do, they pre-qualify people. To get to a SAP program, you have to have a special rate of...
Nope. Christine, you want to weigh in on that?
There is a requirement of minimum
So they can't have a reading remedial need, just reading, but they can have math, they can have writing.
They can't have reading remedial, but can have math and writing.
Except for allied health, and only because allied health is more than 60 credits, so that they can't do that.
Right.
But the idea isn't to make Hostos an ASAP college. That's not what we're talking about. Exactly.
The bottom line, I'm not saying that 50% is good or bad. I'm saying to reach this goal, we have to plan a drastic changes in the approach to teaching. And how to this drastic approach, we will not sacrifice the quality, it's a big question, which has to be answered also.
Well, I think that's for this group to kind of talk about, to say what, I mean, I love the fact that you're pushing back. I love it. I think it's great. I think you should. But at the same time, like, what's the right number? Is it 30? Is it 25? Is it 47.2? I don't know the right answer. But the point is, if you want to make a drastic change in completion because you think completion is not at the rate it needs to be for your students and for the institution that you work for, what do you do to change it? That's the question. Okay, over here we had a question.
I was actually going to raise something really similar, and I have friends at BCC, which is going ASAP, and they are concerned about the most vulnerable students who don't qualify for ASAP. So while we're setting our goals and deciding what's going to help students get to completion, I think all of us would want to make sure that those vulnerable students who are not ASAP able to get into the ASAP program, we also set goals for them. Because I think what works for the ASAP students isn't necessarily going to be the same thing that works for the students who are double remedial and can go full-time, right? Those are ASAP students.
Right, and a lot of the interventions that you already have in place, correct me if I'm wrong, have nothing to do with ASAP, and they're working. There's a lot of things that are dealing with single, double, and triple remedial students that are actually working. So it's a great point. Thank you for raising it. The idea, I mean, listen, I don't want to work on a plan. I want to be really clear. Like, I am here personally because I believe in what community colleges do and what Hostos can do. I work on social justice issues, and I care that you change lives and for the people who most need them. So I would not want to see a plan that is about, I don't want to facilitate that process, okay? And I don't think that's what we're trying to do. But we are trying to find the sweet spot in being aggressive and also responsive. Yes, Christine. Can we hand her the mic, please? Thank you.
3-year graduation where we hit 20.6 is that same cohort of students who we had 47 out of remediation within that first year, right? So that's how they then were our most vulnerable, and Christine,
Yep.
you know this, right? Because you're the one working with them.
Yep. Okay. So I would ask, Mickey, can we move on? Okay, thank you. So I would ask that we move on and we hold on the 50%. If those of you that feel really strongly about the 50% and want to talk about it, the president has asked me to call him, and he will come back and have that discussion with you. But he really should be here to have that discussion with you because he's very much driving the 50%. So we can do that at the end of the meeting, and we can turn off the mic, and you can have a heart-to-heart with the president. Does that work? But we're not going to get any input if we keep just talking about the problems with the 50% or the problems with focusing on this in this way. So, is that okay? I'm going to move forward. We're going to skip a bunch of stuff because we took a little longer than, no, we're going to go there. Okay, so we want to ask you some questions. Okay, so you've said what this plan shouldn't be and what the problems with the plan are, but it's not written yet. There's nothing done. So this is your opportunity to make the plan something that you think is meaningful for yourselves, for your colleagues, for your community, for your students. So we'd like you to talk at your tables. I'm going to consolidate the tables. And I don't care if you would answer these questions directly. I think the idea is, what do you bring to the table that's going to help you or hinder your work is the first question, right? And then what do you got to do? What should the new plan be focused on so that it does all the things that you think it should focus on? Okay? And again, the discussion does not stop today. If you are burning to stay involved, I hope you will stalk us online and input as we go. I really do, because we need that. And maybe we'll make some changes to the committee if we need to. So all that said, what I'd like you to do is organize, so this is too small a table. If we could have those three of you maybe go to the last table, and then so we'll have 1, 2, 3. If these two tables, I don't care how you do it, you figure out how to diplomatically consolidate. And then maybe this table has IR. If you guys would either go to this table or that table. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tables. So I'd like you to take about 20 minutes and just talk about these questions. I'd like you to find one person who is kind of making sure everybody gets involved in this discussion. You can turn off the tape now, yes. I'd like you to make sure, hold on. I'd like you to have the person who is the diplomat, and let's get quiet. Okay? All right, so sometimes I think strategic planning is like double Dutch. There's no perfect way to jump in, right? So we're just gonna jump. And if you do not, today is gonna be a time where I hope something comes up in your mind. I don't know about you, but I'm a 3 o'clock wake person. And if that 3 o'clock thought comes into your head, like, oh, I forgot to say, or it's really important that we do this, go to the website. Victor, it's a web page on the president's page? It's the web page under the president's page, president's office, called Strategic Plan. 2022. Exactly, so you can put comments, you can raise questions, so please input. Okay, which table would like to go first and share your thoughts? Oh my gosh, I love it. Whoa, you're so fast. I'm gonna go over here. Okay, wait until the mic is with you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna stop. Let's respect our colleagues, okay? We have like 2 minutes for each of you to report. Thank you.
Among the challenges, we saw academic skills, obviously, especially introductory skills and just learning the academic life. There seem to be number two, there seem to be occasional inefficiencies of financial. For example, students literally using textbook money to do something else. So we're not really clear that actually occurs, but it seems like it might. And then also just on a kind of micro level, just distinguishing between WUs, Ws, Fs, just kind of leading to a track record of failures. And finally, how to make, one of the challenges is how to make this 50% goal a broad goal known by all the faculty, because we get the impression that if people outside of here really won't know it very well. And then of the activities, number one, and I bet that everyone shares this, is better advisement to give a holistic, goal-oriented graduation, like a 3-year plan. You must take this. Don't take a WI in your very last semester because that's the hardest. Don't take it in your first semester, just with some simple advice like that. And then finally, just another activity is discuss track options for students. So if nursing is really too tough, then don't just get depressed. Where else can you go? Okay?
Great. Thank you. That was quite efficient. Now, what I did for the staff is I actually timed the response, so no group gets like 10 minutes. Well, another group gets 2. So I'm just going to set my timer. You'll hear it go off after 2 minutes, and then just start to try to wrap up, okay? Because otherwise, I know some people may have to leave at 5, okay? The president is coming at 5, for those of you that want to stay. He will be here from 5 to 5:30, okay? To continue the discussion about the 50%. I'm just going to, no, you wanted to go next, so let's do it. You raised your hands. Okay, I'm going to set my timer. It's not me, it's my phone.
Okay, we would like to see better coordination between advisement, financial aid, and academic student services. We also would like to focus on collaboration between divisions and tracking students, and when we do track the students, handing out the information and getting it out there so we're all on the same page. We think that that's a good way to focus this. And if I'm saying this correctly, let me see, it's, let's see, support. Integrated in a comprehensive approach to developmental education. That was
Great.
Karen Lundgren.
Thank you. All right, let's give a hand. We should have given a hand to the first group, but let's give a hand to this group. Thank you. Thank you. So listen, hold on to those notes, and if you could give the notes to Elizabeth, who is also kind of pulling themes. She's actually going to do a whole analysis with a heat map and everything of all the comments across forums, so it actually is being analyzed. Okay, so which group would like to go next? Over here in the corner. I'm gonna set my timer. You were faster than 2 minutes, by the way. That was really good.
Okay, the goal is to be faster? Okay.
No, you don't have to be faster. You have time. Go.
All right, so as far as challenges go, we realize personal lives, jobs versus school, the complication of the process for advisement, which was already mentioned in terms of that, and also accessibility across buildings. If you're advised, then you have to go to the other building and then come back. So clear advisement is very important. So we focused on orientation and advisement with students. The importance of getting them there would be a focus, a major activity. Make sure they make orientation, faculty training around advisement so that we're very clear about programs so we can guide them in the right direction.
Great.
And more classes in the evening, and with that, more access to resources like ed tech and...
For the students.
For the students and the faculty.
Okay,
so the faculty
great.
to get like media carts if they're doing the evening courses, the tutoring center to be open during the evening courses so students have access to that. And that was that.
Great. Oh my gosh, you guys are fast. Okay, thank you. Let's give a hand to that group. Thank you. Just a sign of respect, right? Okay, I saw a hand raise over here. Are you guys ready? Oh, I'm sorry. Sandra. Yes. Yes. Ugh. Sandy, sorry. Oh my gosh, this is just the fever talking. I'm sorry. Sandy, I know you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what we came up with, we felt that we should have, the biggest issue is that we don't really have clear coordination between the faculty and the services that are provided. An example, if you have a student who gives you a form that says from the Accessibility Resource Center, and there's a list of all kinds of accommodations the student needs, but you don't know what the accommodation is. I asked the student, or we asked the student, who's the advisor? There is no advisor, it's hit and miss. And we felt that we really need to have some type of, if there's a coordinator or a counselor, somebody that we could talk to so that we could help the student. And this, we felt, this goes along with academic probation. If a student is on academic probation, yes, I send the person over to the academic advisement, but who's the person's advisor? Also, liberal arts, very amorphous, not the AS in science, because those folks are usually going into engineering or math, but the folks who are liberal arts, amorphous, there's not the same as in allied health or education, where it's a program and you have the advisors there. But what are the advisors? We used to have a long time ago, a liberal arts cadre of advisors. We don't seem to have that anymore. I know that ASAP and all of the other programs really support these students, in the liberal arts area, but we felt that we need more collaboration and more clarification, and definitely more communication with students who are really the outliers.
Well, you all are saying variations on a theme, I'm hearing. So that's very helpful. Yes. Clap, clap, clap. One more. Let's go.
No, Sandy gave really good examples of what we discussed. But the main thing we were talking about was really having a more coherent, centralized coordination. So an example that we discussed was you can go to CUNY first, you can go to Degree Works, there's Starfish. There are all these separate entities. We need an integrated system where all of these things come up, all the resources, and then you're able to really provide services for your students.
That's very helpful. Thank you for the clarification. Let's give a hand to this group. Okay, next group. I'm gonna scan this horizon. Yes, over here. Thank you. She's like, me, I thank you.
So this is gonna sound pretty familiar. Streamline the advisement. And one of the things that we discussed was that each program may have different needs for advisement, and so it should be specific to the program. Fix Starfish in order to help students, which goes along. Need of resources to guide students, and this is, again, part of the advisement piece that, if you have hundreds of students per faculty member, it's difficult to know all of them and be able to give them, an hour of your time, say, to give them the advisement that they need. Establish better tutoring, connect tutoring to the actual departments so that the math tutoring needs to be connected to the math tutors. the situation of adjuncts in the college and the fact that students can go through and basically take a whole degree with adjuncts. And the adjuncts just are kind of they kind of come racing in and racing out. And, you know, of course, we'd need to pay them to do more, but they could actually be helpful with advisement.
Right,
Because
figuring
they-
out ways to integrate them into teaching and learning more systematically.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, you're
And-
nodding your head at me? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall over.
The last one is a connection with the marketplace.
A connection with what? The marketplace.
Getting jobs, and our students going to four-year colleges.
I'm just gonna probe on that for a second. What do you mean by a connection to the marketplace? You mean that the degrees are relevant to the marketplace? And did you have any ideas on how to do that? Did you talk about that? I mean, is that part of, for example, some colleges make that part of APR, that the academic program review has a very strong component of environmental scanning. I know you have that, but maybe that's not being, you know, utilized as effectively as it could. There are lots of ways to do that.
You know, part of it is tracking students when they leave. And they leave at different times,
Yep.
and they come back, and finding an efficient way of keeping track of them. And
Right.
then I always go to the fact, I bring this up, but that somehow or another the development office can always track down the students to ask them for money. So somehow or another, you know, the fundraising arm of colleges seems to be pretty successful.
Right.
And I've always been curious why it's the kind of academic side doesn't,
Right.
but the part that asks for money does.
Right, no, and I hear you. And that's more of a challenge, as you know, for community colleges. Senior colleges, like, you know, they're all over it. But anyway, okay, thank you. Let's give a hand to that group. Yes, down here.
Thank you. This is going to be a repetition of what a lot of people have said, but it seems like we have, at this table, the biggest issue was the lack of student preparation for our various programs. So whether they're going into allied health or engineering and science or community health or, in my case, just taking a history class, there's lack of basic skills, whether it's grammar or knowing enough about physics or et cetera, et cetera. And it seemed like we needed to move into a direction where it wasn't just advising is great and giving students a better idea of what they should be doing, that's great, but it seemed like we were moving in the direction of this has to be mandated. You cannot move forward unless you complete these preparatory steps, which we all know will guarantee your success in this program, this class, et cetera. For instance, how are students taking hybrid and online classes and they've never actually, you know, they don't have any familiarity with basic Blackboard? They are guaranteed to fail. So it's these little things which we already have as a voluntary bit of preparation. We need to mandate and then figure out how you know, we don't have a drastic drop in enrollment.
So academic policy related to student preparedness and what you need to have
And
to go
building on what Sarah was talking about, the money's important. And I think we need more money for the kind of faculty development initiatives. We already have some of it now. The Hostos Teaching Institute, we think to share the best practices amongst our faculty, not just in teaching, but also in research and passing on these skills onto our students. We need to do more of that.
Right.
And if the money isn't in the government sphere, we have to go outside of it and get it from other donators. We did have one very specific activity that we want. We all felt that having students involved in research early and often would build those critical skills of writing and so on and so forth that will make them successful long
Right.
term.
And the national research has shown that that is, in fact, correct. that does help.
And that is it for us.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so let's give a round to that group. Thank you. Did I get every group or did I forget anybody? Okay. So we have 5 minutes to talk about this, and then I will say goodbye to those of you that want to leave. The president is coming at 5 to engage anybody who wants to continue the conversation on the 50% completion rate. But any observations from what we just talked about? Anyone want to share? Surprising? Or not? I mean, it sounds like you have a strong sense of the types of things that you need to do in order to improve completion. It's just a matter of trying to figure out what are the specifics to do that. A lot of it was around coordination. A lot of that was around advisement. I mean, that was a resounding advisement. As you said, faculty development. There's kind of what is the academic policy around, getting into different programs and how do we ensure student success around that. So there's a lot of common themes, right? Or no? Am I crazy? Okay. Is that the fever talking? Okay. So I don't want to keep talking and keep you. Any other thoughts before we close? Any final thoughts? Yes. I don't want to. Here.
For the group is fine. I think that we should pay a little bit attention to develop some track-based program. Like if you track-based program, that means like, say if you go someone in 4-year college, there's a pre-med track, pre-engineering or something. But we are 2 years college, but we can say like pre-med track like that. So we don't have to create new subject, but if we have a panel of subject, for the transfer students or even those are getting the associate degree. So it will be a more student catching criteria, I think. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right. Listen, so we're gonna close. Here's the president coming in. I'm gonna stop this portion. So if those of you that want to go, but who wants to continue the conversation, president, come on down. All right. So thank you, everybody. Stay if you want to continue on the 50% completion. Thank you, everybody. Camera's off now. Camera is off. No camera.